Have you guys ever heard of the Mandela Effect? Massive amounts of people will have the wrong memory. Because, Christian, you and I have a Mandela Effect situation.
I don't like this conversation because it's making me question things I definitely thought were facts.
Hey, I'm Cameron.
And I'm Megan.
And I'm character actress Margot Martindale.
All right. Wow, look at this rain. This is a lot of really beautiful, very specific rain. Oh!
Look how good this looks.
Yeah. How did it look in the original, Christian?
It looked pretty good.
Oh, did it? Did it look good? It looked good. Oh, that's good.
But this looks a little bit better.
A little bit better. Yeah. That's good.
Not that I needed it.
I did have a question at the end of the last episode. I was wondering if it was okay for me to compare this to Metroid Dread and if anybody else had been talking about.
I thought you were about to say Skyward Sword.
Well, hey guys, we're 2 for 2 for episodes of Skyward Sword.
We can fit it in every episode if we try.
Yeah, let's see what we can do. All right. Okay. Well, so I don't know what you mean by comparing it to Metroid Dread. So
visually.
What do you mean?
For me,
expand on that for me.
For me, when I see it, it just reminds me so much of Metroid Dread. Because Metroid Dread is gorgeous too, and it
really is,
and it also just came out recently. So
you know, it's the same franchise, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was a joke, by the way. I wasn't supposed to take it seriously.
Oh, okay.
I was like, God, Christian.
I know. He's the professional. No one else knows anything about Metroid.
Christian's like, I see something I could gatekeep out of.
Like, you guys, it hasn't reminded you of Dread at all?
It's kind of difficult for me because it's at a completely different perspective. And so it feels like a very different game, but, like, I definitely agree with you in that it is visually consistent with Metroid Dread. Like, this does feel like it's part of the same universe, especially when you compare it to, like, Super Metroid, which had that pixelated look. I mean, that's actually my favorite looking game of the entire franchise is Super Metroid, because of course it is.
Yeah.
But, like Super Metroid, Metroid Fusion, and Zero Mission all have visual identity that are really similar. And what they did with Dread and with this update to Prime is they kind of brought those into the same visual cohesion. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yes.
That's exactly what you were saying. Glad you guys can read each other's minds.
You don't understand, Christian. We're married. This is what happens.
You'll experience it one day, kid.
Yeah, whenever you fall in love.
Well, I was also thinking, I was like, what? I don't know what you mean, Megan. And then they're like, let me give it a shot. And you, in detail, said exactly what you meant.
Yeah, this is what marriage looks like.
When it shows Samus right here, it doesn't take you back to Dread flashbacks.
The elevator, yes.
That's a Metroid trope too. Is they hide their loading screens behind elevators, and they especially love doing the thing where they zoom in on her and she's kind of looking around and feeling isolated,
which I think is genius.
Huh? I never noticed that trend, and I've played a lot of them.
Let's see. Yeah, you've played a whole lot of them. I think the only one that you haven't played is the Prime games and Fusion, right?
I played Fusion.
You played Fusion?
Yeah.
I thought you weren't interested in Fusion.
I played it, I thought.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
I've never played Fusion.
Yeah, I thought.
You haven't played Fusion?
Nah. There's actually a good amount of... I haven't finished most Metroid games. I've played Super Metroid, I've played this, and I have attempted to play a lot of others, and I don't think I've finished any of the others. That's probably shocking.
A little bit, yeah.
Color me surprised.
But the second and third Metroid Prime games, I could never really get into.
That's a pretty common thing with the Primes, is that everyone has one Prime game they really like, I find.
Yeah.
And it's Prime. This one.
I honestly...
Well, it's different ones for each person.
I know, and it's always this one.
I honestly, I don't know how to comprehend it not being this one. If I'm being brutally honest, I played the second one. I tried to play it multiple times, and I just got so bored both times. And then I played the third one as well, and that one is basically just like it came out after like the whole Halo craze, came out, and it was very much like trying to be like that, which is surprising because you wouldn't think that like Metroid of all things would like be trying to copy some like a Halo or like Call of Duty or something like that.
It's not very Nintendo-like. Nintendo's mistakes tend not to be, let's copy the craze. Nintendo's mistakes tend to be, hey, let's make sure we don't do what everyone else is doing, even if it's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you one Nintendo thing is it forced the motion controls.
Oh, there you go. Hey, found it. So, one thing I wanted to point out, too, since we're in a Metroid-y conversation, is I'm noticing now how Metroid Prime... Okay, let me organize my thoughts here. So you know how Ocarina of Time is like A Link to the Past, but 3D?
A little bit.
Where there's like a lot... like the story structure is the same, and there's a lot about it that is like really, really, really similar to A Link to the Past, but it just is in 3D, and that's kind of the distinguishing factor, along with adding more linearity and stuff. I haven't
really played A Link to the Past, but I think I've heard that before.
Oh yeah, it's a pretty common thing that people say about those two games.
I've never heard that, and I did not make that connection.
Well, I was about to say that I'm realizing now that Metroid Prime is a lot like Super Metroid. You start with all your power, and then you go on to a crashed ship where you get to learn all your powers. All of a sudden, you are attacked by Ridley and lose all your powers, and then you go to a different planet that is raining and come out and have to explore that planet.
You've never made that connection before?
I've only played Prime the one time. I'm learning.
Well, I made it immediately when I played Super Metroid the first time.
Oh, you made it immediately. You made it for Super Metroid. You know what, Christian? If you're going to be like this, me and Megan are going to play this by ourselves.
Don't speak for me.
I'd like to see you try.
Okay, actually, I might need you.
Yeah, I could not play this.
That would be way more entertaining than watching me play.
Yeah, I have no sense of direction. It would be really funny for like 3 episodes, and then episode 4 they'd be like, Cameron, you've been in the same room for like 4 episodes in a row. Please, God,
you've been
turn
screaming
around.
about the difficulty for this boss for...
You just lose all your subscribers in one episode.
Yeah, that'd be the end of that real fast.
They added a hard difficulty to this, which I don't think was in the original. I gave it a shot.
Yeah.
And I lost to this boss.
I don't remember this boss.
This is the easiest boss in the game.
Easier than the one that you beat on accident while looking at me in the eye?
Actually, that may not be true.
Yeah, I remember when I was playing through this with you, because the thing about these games is, I don't know what it is, but I get very easily disoriented in 3D first-person shooters.
Yeah.
I cannot, orient myself at all. And when you combine that with my propensity for getting lost in general, and you're in a maze-like game like Metroid Prime, it's just a whole thing. It's just the crossroads of bad things for Cameron to deal with.
I was always very skeptical about showing you this game because I am absolutely, from the bottom of my heart, in love with this game. But I know if I show it to you, it is not your kind of thing. So I was in a bit of a predicament because I wanted to show it to you.
Yeah.
For like a while.
Yeah. And I ended up really enjoying it, though.
I did. And
yeah.
You liked it, I think.
Oh, yeah, I really liked it. But in order to enjoy it, I had to have you next to me the entire time telling me where to go next. And I'm not joking, guys. It was literally the whole time you telling me precisely what to do next.
So is this boss just these little bees?
Yeah, pretty much. It's supposed to be coming from this weird hive thing over there.
Is that like a Chozo thing? It looks like a Chozo
Everything's
thing.
a Chozo thing.
It looks like bird magic. Smells like bird magic.
I'm also having a very hard time right now. Because if you don't beat the bees, then you have to do the same wave again. Which I don't know if you saw, but I was talking to you, but I missed one.
Does it still have the auto aim thing going on for you, or did they turn that off?
No, they still have it. They added one more control scheme and then added all the past control schemes that they've had up to this point, which is really convenient.
And you clearly prefer the because there was a lot of controversy over which one was the best one of the 3.
I used to have absolutely no problem with the original controls, But they added this thing where it's like it's basically just like a normal first-person shooter, which everybody's used to now,
Except for me.
except for you.
Yeah.
I actually kind of prefer this, which I did not see coming.
Yeah. Wow. I probably, if I were to play it, would probably play with the motion controls, just because trying to aim in 3D games like this are very hard for me.
You know what's crazy?
What's crazy?
People actually love the motion controls in Metroid games.
No, I've heard that. And it makes sense. So, unlike Skyward Sword,
Oh my gosh.
I think that first-person shooters have the greatest argument for using motion controls because you just point and shoot. It's the only thing that's actually superior to a keyboard and mouse.
Yeah.
When you're trying to use it with a stick, it's hard to orient yourself. With Skyward Sword and a lot of the other infamous, motion-controlled games, it's because they took controls that already worked with analog controls and just made you have to use motion controls. But shooters already needed some improvement and could actually benefited. And I think uncontroversially, most people would say shooters benefit from being able to point and shoot at the screen. We've known this since Duck Hunt.
Yeah. Most people would definitely agree with you. I think that originally came out in the third Prime, where they added motion controls to it, and I was one of the few people that I actually strongly preferred, the original.
Well, and the problem with that one is they made you play it that way after having 2 games in the franchise that had a different control scheme.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it seemed like there was a lot of people that didn't like the controls for the first 2.
Really?
I'm pretty sure I was in the minority.
Interesting.
Which, it makes sense, because if you look back, it is kind of clunky, I'll admit that. Because you had to, you know how, in Doom, you could only look, to, the side?
Yeah.
You had to do that, and if you wanted to look up, you had to, hold a button.
Yeah, hate that.
Yeah. I don't know why. I think, for me, just the fact that I played it so early, my brain, mapped to that. So I just loved it.
Yeah, yeah.
But now they have this, so.
Have you guys ever heard of the Mandela Effect?
Wait, why is that funny?
Because he was looking for that segue.
Oh my god.
He couldn't find it, though. So.
I found it.
No, I haven't.
Whoa. You haven't heard of it?
I probably have, but I don't think I've heard of it, Meagan?
No. What's the Mandela Effect?
Okay, so the Mandela Effect...
Is it when you prefer shooting with motion controls?
No. It's, I was wondering if y'all had heard of it, and if you had heard of it, what you think about it. But it's this concept where massive amounts of people will have the wrong memory about something. And, everyone agrees on the memory, but it's factually incorrect.
Ooh.
Just because of, bandwagoning onto, a certain,
Well, one of the issues is that people argue over what causes the Mandela Effect. So, the reason it's called the Mandela Effect...
No one can remember why they were remembering wrong.
Right! I mean, if you remembered why you remembered wrong, you would remember why, right? You would remember the right thing. These guys gave me a lot of trouble. Way too much trouble. So, they call it that because Nelson Mandela... a lot of people thought that he died in prison in 1989, but he didn't. That's not when he died. But it was just kind of one of those things that just people just kind of in 1492, Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue. It's just one of those kind of factoids that people just knew that Nelson Mandela died that year. But he didn't die until way late, and I don't have it in front of me. I don't remember. But he died far more recently, and the Mandela Effect had already taken a place where people thought he was dead for a decade before he died. Because people just thought that was what had happened. And people were really, really, really surprised that, he had not actually died that year. You guys haven't heard of this?
I might have. I definitely forgot if I did.
Another really famous one is, the Berenstein Bears versus the Bernstein Bears. that a lot of people remember it being the Berenstain Bears.
Are you talking about the like the kids book?
Yeah, the kids book. A lot of people remember it being the Berenstain Bears, but it's actually the Bernstein Bears.
I always called it the Bernstein.
Are you doing a test right now?
No, I'm not. This is not a test. This is like, these are the, like, when people bring up the Mandela Effect, they always bring up, like, those two examples.
Because it was definitely called the Berenstain Bears.
No, it's not.
Yes, there it is. It's happening.
Okay, I think that might be people call it different things in their homes.
No, well, it's like people remember it being spelled differently, and like, but then you go and you actually look at the book, and it's like spelled a certain way.
All I can tell you is that's what I called it.
Yeah.
So why'd you bring up the Mandela Effect?
Well, I'm just curious what y'all thought about it. I encountered it recently out in the wild, and
Out in the wild?
I wanted to see what y'all thought about it. Because, Christian, you and I have a Mandela Effect situation.
Okay. Do enlighten me.
We have a memory about Toy Story 3. That we went and we watched Toy Story 3 the year that I graduated. And all of me and all of my friends went and watched it. And we were about to go to college. And so the scene where Andy... Spoilers for Toy Story 3.
You don't need to do that.
The scene where Andy goes and gives away his toys
Everyone
because...
who's an actual human being has seen that movie.
That has a heart, yeah.
That one viewer, well, I guess I'm not human.
Unsubscribe.
Local YouTuber claims that people who don't like Toy Story 3 are less than human.
Yeah.
But there's that one scene in Toy Story 3 where Andy gives away his toys to a little girl because she's going to college. And it's like a really, really, really heart-touching scene. And I really distinctly remember how it hit me and my friends because we were going to college like in 3 months.
Right.
And we bawled our eyes out.
Mm-hmm.
I graduated in 2013. Toy Story 3 did not come out in 2013.
When did it come out?
I don't remember, but it wasn't 2013.
Was it 2012?
Might have been 2012 or something like that. But like
I'll be honest, that's what I remember it coming out in 2013.
What year did Toy Story 3 come out?
I don't like this conversation because it's making me question things I definitely thought were facts.
What year did Toy Story 3 come out? 2010.
If this conversation goes any further,
That's when I graduated.
if this conversation goes any further than movies, it's gonna get really scary.
Yeah,
really quick.
2010 would be one. Like 2011 would be one thing. 2014, but I was nowhere near going to college when I was in 2010. That was not something on my mind in that year. I graduated. I have a certificate that says 2013, but I have a memory that I still, like, even now that I know what year these movies came out and I know what year I graduated, I still don't believe it because my brain tells me that I, with all of my graduating buddies, cried at Toy Story 3 because we were, and even you thought, 2013.
Well, I was there.
You were there.
I was in the theater.
You were in the theater in 2010.
Okay, well, do you have like an idea of what happened instead?
No, I don't. That's my memory. That's what my memory is. I remember that happening.
There's got to be an explanation. That's insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. Where it's just a false memory. Also, Dad was there with us.
Yeah.
For that, at that time, for whatever reason, he decided to come and watch a movie with all of us. I'm guessing because we couldn't drive yet. Or something, but he remembers it being in 2013 and us going to college the next year.
I don't know what to tell you about that specific thing, because that's exactly how I remember it, and that's exactly what I was told afterwards. And that's exactly what I've been told for years.
Yep.
So I don't know what to tell you, bud.
Yeah, Christopher, I know, that's really weird.
What?
His name is Gabriel.
Oh, that's right.
Hardy har.
Yeah, but like people have different theories about it. One theory that people have about it is that there's like a multiverse, and that every so often the multiverse crosses over, and people have memories from the other universe in their memories.
That's terrifying.
Oh, like
Yeah.
theories behind deja vu.
Yeah. Same thing with deja vu. That it's like the multiverse like has crossed over, and like our brain has like.
Well, but have you considered how terrifying that thought is, that you have memories in like your heart and your mind that are completely like fake?
They're just not true.
That's terrifying to me.
Yeah.
Y'all know that movie Inside Out?
Yeah.
I was just rewatching it at my dad's house recently, and I don't know if y'all remember this scene or not, but there's a scene when they're traveling through her brain. They knock over 2 boxes. One of them is for facts, and the other one's opinions. And they just kind of they get all mixed up, and they're just throwing them back in the box. And Bing Bong the elephant says, it's okay. They get mixed up all the time. Anyways, so it doesn't matter.
I don't remember that, but that's genius.
You probably don't remember because it's such a small in between. Like
I remember that movie. I haven't seen it since it came out, but that movie was amazing.
I feel like that movie was just a series of that joke over and over and over again.
Yeah.
That's the whole reason it was made, is to make, comments like that.
Yeah. Hey, isn't it weird how our memory works? Hardy har har, also be sad.
We're gonna make a jab at all humanity, but then make a little joke afterward to make you forget.
Right.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that is the end of that episode. We will see you guys later. You know what to do.
And if you don't, ask someone.